So the other side of the Art Nouveau movement is the artwork that was taking place in Scotland, Austria, and Germany at the time. And we're going to see a little bit of a departing from Mucha style, which was very dense. It had a lot of interwoven lines, a lot of these Celtic knot looking um, designs that kind of filled out the entirety of the work of art. These are having a little bit more open space, a little bit more simplistic in very definite lines, and this is just going to be a different interpretation of the Art Nouveau movement. And in Scotland, there was primarily two couples that were well known for being part of this movement and making it into what it was. Their names were Margaret MacDonald and Frances MacDonald, and also Herbert McNair and Charles Rennie Mackintosh. What held the group together were two sisters who were married to two men, and these MacDonald sisters were at the heart of what created this movement. So we're still seeing the results of the Industrial Revolution, and keeping in mind that this is a time where there was a huge divide between the wealthy and the poor people. The poor was a majority of the population. They were just the typical factory workers who were toiling away their days in the factories and basically could not ever reach the level of this elite group who was in charge. We're definitely seeing more of a work to live lifestyle rather than live to work. People were very dependent on the art in their lives to brighten their days and to kind of provide an escape and a way to avoid the everyday effects of the Industrial Revolution. So I would say these works more or less celebrated the wealthy, much like we were following tabloids and celebrities today. This was their way of having a window into that world, almost visualizing like they were a part of it, kind of just an escape from what was the reality. So the two MacDonald sisters, Margaret and Frances, went to school at the Glasgow School of Art, and they were taking inspiration from Beardsley and Oscar Wilde. They were kind of looking to the Art Nouveau inspiration as well as the arts and crafts. While they did keep to this Art Nouveau style, they also wanted to go with something that was uniquely Scottish and kind of went back to this revival of Celtic styles. And this just became, a source of pride of their country. So this image here is called a pond, and you've got these very flowing, organic-like shapes. Although there is a symmetry to it, which kind of creates the basis of the composition, I wouldn't say that anything here looks too stark or too harsh on the eyes. What should be noticed about this image, though, is that there are a lot of right angles. We see it here, we see it in the text. The text is not actually symmetrical with itself, although we do see text on either side. And what's also kind of interesting about the image is that the text is trying to fit itself into a box. So the lettering is distorted in order to fit into this geometric shape. So this is something that I'm sure that you've all seen many times in advertising and graphic design before, sort of a manipulation of the fonts to create different shapes. But viewed from afar, it definitely looks like it has asymmetry when you take in the image as a whole. It's got a lot of balance to it. So if you'll recall, what we were discussing in the previous unit was that a lot of the Art Nouveau was inspired by these Japanese prints. So what you'll see is, again, this femininity, this sense of blocks of color. And I will say that there is a little bit more going on here in terms of that. You see some transparency in the cloth from her gown. You're seeing colors that almost create a texture. However, what's different about this is that in her hair, you're not seeing the shading in terms of um, what would be accurate in terms of how the light would hit it. It's more, the color is used more to create a texture, almost like a piece of stained glass. So each cell, if you will, almost has its own color scheme going on with inside it. And again, you're seeing like this very sexualized energy of the women. However, they were not hoping for it to be overt or very obvious. It's meant to be a little bit more subtle, a little bit more mysterious. In this image, we're going to see on the far left an image that was created by both the sisters in collaboration with Herbert McNair. So this has a lot of the same stylistic devices, the very elongated figures. And you're also seeing this whole play with text over here. So instead of, sometimes different letters will go above or below, they're trying to kind of block them in. So this is very fitting to the size of this rectangle right here. You can see that they're getting a little bit stylistic with the L in Glasgow. The Institute E kind of extends. And then it's a little bit de-emphasized and stacked just to kind of take attention away from the smaller words in the image. So yeah, you got also, again, you have the same colors that you would see in traditional Celtic artwork. And this poster is created to advertise the Institute's student show. So what you're seeing in both of these images is that you're seeing a lot of organic forms that are irregular, but there is a definite symmetry and everything is bound by straight lines and rectangles and squares. So you can see that these are kind of sectioned out. You got a rectangle here, you've got one in the middle, and one almost the same size as the one on the top at the bottom encasing the text. So the text is separate. It seems to be an overall cohesive image, but this almost creates a platform into which these figures in space can rest on top of. So the figure on the right is by, or sorry, the poster on the right is by Charles Rennie Mackintosh, also from Glasgow, Scotland, and he preferred the strength of the rectilinear line, and he used a lot of his source material from the Irish Book of Kells to appeal to the nationalist sentiments of the time. He was one of the precursors to the Viennese style, and he was a designer of buildings, interior decoration and design, and furniture. And just to give you an idea of what this manuscript looked like, we see sort of these letters that turn into, they swirl around into creating images of these animals. And we also have another instance of, seeing these blocks of text that fit into itself. The letters do not have any undercuts. The base lines are all equally proportioned. So you're seeing almost this influence. It's easy to see where the Art Nouveau came from in Mackintosh's artwork. So back to the Mackintosh image for a second, we're seeing here that he is taking this linear quality from the Book of Kells into consideration in his artwork, but also worthy of interest is that there is a phallic quality to the image. You can kind of see the phallus in the middle of the image, and both of these, they have, like I said, a very subtle sense of sexuality, nothing in your face, nothing overt. But these images are also very abstract, which was kind of innovative and ahead of its time. Some people were still kind of clinging to the old past of the very, back when they were doing the arts and crafts in the Victorian movement, how they were basically essentially mimicking the older styles. They were more used to that. They were more accustomed to seeing something that they were already familiar with. They weren't quite ready for this innovation to hit them. So during this era where the nightlife was kind of booming, women needed a place to go to, so Mackintosh designed for a woman named Miss Cranston a set of tea rooms, which was a place where women could go for a social gathering outside their house. So you can also see how the Art Nouveau style carried over. This image is a post-restoration photo of one of the tea rooms that he made. These were for their client, Catherine Cranston, who wanted to project like an elegance, it's almost a place of a destination based on the decor, something that was very refined, very modern, very cosmopolitan. So this was just a very nice gathering spot. This is a gessoed wood panel by Margaret McIntosh. So this was where she was working for the Willow Tea Rooms in early 1900s to have imagery to be placed in the tea room, and these were much more appreciated by the Austrians in Vienna at the salons than they were in Scotland at the time. And in the image, you're seeing themes of, again, the Scottish colors. You're seeing the primary colors. You're seeing a lot of yellow in the background. You're seeing nature and flowers and garlands. So it's kind of a lighthearted feeling. Goes very well in the tea room. Kind of a like a warm weather, warm color tone palettes. Kind of a spring, celebratory type of image. So yeah, there you go. Again with the distorted, elongated figures, almost has an inhuman-like quality to them.